First Contact's finest hour. The Galactic Assembly's grand hall buzzed with panic. Thousands of delegates from across known space huddled in their anti-grav pods, their voices a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and translated speech. Above them, the holographic display showed another colony world going dark, the seventh this cycle. Maya Chen stood at the human delegation's platform, her dark eyes fixed on the spreading shadow in the projection. At 35, she was the youngest chief diplomat Earth had ever sent to the Assembly, and right now, she was starting to feel every bit the rookie they thought she was. The Void Stalkers have breached the Orion defense line, announced High Speaker Ixil, their crystalline form glowing a deep red of distress. They will reach populated sectors within days. The Assembly erupted in chaos. The Void Stalkers, massive beings of living shadow that consumed energy and life with equal voracity, had emerged from deep space 3 months ago. Every attempt at communication had failed. Every military response had been met with devastating losses. Maya felt a familiar tingling at the base of her skull. It had started the day the Void Stalkers appeared, a constant low-frequency hum that intensified whenever new attacks were reported. She'd kept it secret, fearing the Assembly's notorious paranoia about unexplained phenomena. The Centaurian Empire moves to initiate Protocol Omega, called out Ambassador Vex, their chitinous armor gleaming. We must purge the affected sectors before dash. Objection. Maya's voice cut through the chamber. The translation field amplified her words in 50,000 languages. Protocol Omega would sacrifice billions of lives. Vex's compound eyes fixed on her. The human delegate speaks of sacrifice. Your species has been among the stars for barely a century. What do you know of the hard choices required for galactic survival? Maya stepped forward, ignoring the warning glance from her assistant. We know enough about extinction-level events to recognize that panic leads to catastrophe. The Void Stalkers are following a pattern. They're intelligent. They are apex predators, High Speaker Ixil countered. The most lethal entities we have encountered in 10,000 years of space exploration. The tingling in Maya's skull intensified. She gripped the podium, fighting a wave of dizziness. Through the haze, patterns emerged in the attack data, patterns that shouldn't be visible to human eyes. They're not random attacks, she said, her voice strengthening. Look at the progression. They're writing something across our stars. Silence fell across the chamber. Maya gestured at the holographic display, and her neural implant connected with the Assembly's systems. The attack points shifted, connected, formed lines and curves against the backdrop of space. It's a language, she continued. Complex, geometric, written in movement and energy. We've been treating them like animals when they're trying to talk to us. Ambassador Vex clicked in derision. A human's pattern recognition phantoms do not constitute dash. Maya doubled over as a surge of electromagnetic energy pulsed through the chamber. The Assembly's sensors screamed warnings. A Void Stalker had appeared in nearby space, far closer than any had dared venture before. Through the chamber's transparent ceiling, they could see it, a massive shape of living darkness, its form shifting and flowing like oil in zero gravity. Starlight bent around its edges, creating a corona of impossible colors. The Assembly erupted in panic. Defense systems activated, energy weapons charged, and Maya felt something that stopped her heart for a moment. It was singing. Not with sound, but with electromagnetic pulses that resonated with the same frequency as the tingling in her head. Complex, beautiful patterns of energy that made her implants tingle and dance. Wait, she shouted as weapon systems locked on. Everyone, please, just wait. Maybe it was her tone. Maybe it was the authority that desperation lent her voice. But the Assembly hesitated. Maya stepped onto the anti-grav lift, rising toward the transparent ceiling. Behind her, she heard her assistant's horrified gasp, felt the shock ripple through the Assembly. Chief Diplomat Chen, High Speaker Ixil's voice held a note of fear. Return to your station immediately. They came to us, Maya said, still rising. They crossed galaxies not to hunt, but to find someone who could understand them. The tingling in her skull had become a symphony of electromagnetic resonance. And I think I can. The Void Stalker outside moved closer, its vast form blocking out the stars. This close, Maya could see patterns in its darkness, swirls and eddies of energy that pulsed in time with the signals in her head. They're not here to destroy us, she whispered, but the translation field carried her voice to every corner of the chamber. They're here to warn us. And to ask for our help. The Void Stalker's tendril touched the transparent barrier, directly opposite Maya's raised hand. Where they would have met, if not for the barrier, patterns of energy danced and swirled in shapes that looked remarkably like writing. Behind her, the assembly's chaos had turned to stunned silence. In that moment, Maya knew she had just changed the course of galactic history, for better or worse. Because humanity had just done what it always did best, found a way to communicate with the impossible, to reach across the boundaries of fear and connect with the unknown. The real question was, what were the Void Stalkers trying to warn them about? High Speaker Ixel's voice broke the silence. Chief Diplomat Chen, what exactly are they saying? Maya turned back to face the assembly, her hand still raised toward the Void Stalker. They're saying, the darkness between the stars is no longer empty. And what's coming makes us look like prey. The language of fear. The assembly's quarantine chamber wasn't designed for comfort. Maya sat cross-legged on the sterile floor, surrounded by scanning equipment and worried faces. She'd spent the last 12 hours under observation since her encounter with the Void Stalker. Your neural patterns are unusual, said Dr. Crix, a Meridian scientist whose body consisted mainly of bioluminescent tendrils. The implant's interaction with your brain chemistry has created something new. Something that shouldn't be possible. Maya rubbed her temples, feeling the familiar tingle of electromagnetic signals. Story of my species, Doctor. We specialize in the impossible. The chamber's door hissed open. High Speaker Ixel floated in, their crystalline form refracting emergency lights. The Void Stalker remains in orbit. It has made no aggressive moves, but its presence has caused widespread panic. 3 civilian evacuation ships have already crashed trying to flee the system. Have you tried telling them it's not here to hurt anyone? Maya asked. Somehow, your assurance that the galaxy's most feared predator species is actually here to warn us about an even greater threat has not calmed the population. Ixel's tone was dry. We need more than vague warnings, Diplomat Chen. We need proof. Maya stood, stretching muscles stiff from hours of sitting. Then let me talk to it properly. No barriers, no quarantine. Direct contact. The silence that followed was deafening. Dr. Crix's tendrils writhed in agitation. The risk dash is necessary, Maya finished. Look at your own scans. The electromagnetic patterns I'm receiving are complex, structured. This isn't just communication, it's an entire language based on energy states and quantum fluctuations. But I'm only getting fragments through the station's shielding. Ixel's crystalline surface flickered with colors of concern. And if you're wrong? If the beast devours you the moment you step outside? Maya smiled. Then humanity's reputation for crazy ideas will remain intact. But I'm not wrong. They need us as much as we need them. 3 hours later, Maya stood in an airlock, wearing a standard EVA suit minus the helmet. The Assembly's Safety Council had nearly gone into meltdown over that detail, but she'd been adamant. The neural connection needed to be clear, unobstructed. Commencing airlock sequence, announced the station's AI. May your ancestors guide your path, Diplomat Chen. Maya touched the implant at the base of her skull. Recording active. Let's make first contact count. The outer door opened, and space welcomed her. The Void Stalker hung against the star field like a tear in reality, its massive form making the station feel tiny and fragile. As Maya pushed off from the airlock, magnetic boots disengaged, the being moved closer. The electromagnetic song in her head became a symphony. Patterns of light and energy danced across the creature's surface, and Maya finally understood, they weren't just communicating, they were showing her their history. "I see you," she whispered into the void. "I see what you've lost." The Void Stalker's form rippled, and a tendril of living darkness extended toward her. Maya kept her body relaxed, fighting every instinct screaming at her to flee. The tendril stopped just short of touching her. And then it began to write. Not with ink or light, but with quantum states themselves. The space between them became a canvas of probability and energy, telling a story that made Maya's blood run cold. Through her neural link, she knew the assembly was watching, recording. They would see the patterns, but they wouldn't understand. Not yet. Because what the Void Stalker was showing her wasn't just a warning, it was a memory. A memory of watching entire galaxies go dark. Of civilizations far more advanced than the assembly being devoured not by predators of matter and energy, but by something that consumed probability itself. Something that had driven the Void Stalkers from their home, forcing them to flee across the universe, searching for allies. "They're coming," Maya transmitted back to the station, her voice shaking. "The Void Stalkers aren't running from something, they're trying to get ahead of it. To warn everyone in its path." The tendril moved closer, almost touching her face. Maya felt no fear now, only a deep sadness for what these beings had witnessed. Had lost. "How long?" she asked, pushing the question through the electromagnetic link they shared. The response came in patterns of quantum fluctuation that her implant struggled to translate. But the meaning was clear enough to make her gasp. "They're already here," she transmitted. "At the edges of our galaxy. The darkness between the stars, it's not empty anymore. It's hungry." The Void Stalker's form pulsed with patterns that Maya recognized as urgency. More information flooded her mind, strategies, technologies, desperate plans formed by a species that had spent millennia fighting an enemy that most civilizations couldn't even perceive. "Wait," she held up a hand, overwhelmed. "That's too much, too fast. I can't dash." The being pulled back immediately, its patterns shifting to something gentler, apologetic. Maya realized with a start that it was concerned for her well-being. The galaxy's most feared predator was worried about overloading her neural pathways. She couldn't help it, she laughed. The sound carried no further than her EVA suit, but the Void Stalker responded to her body language, its form rippling in what she somehow knew was amusement. "The assembly is going to need proof," she said. "Something more concrete than my word and some energy patterns. Can you show them?" The response came not in patterns this time, but in action. The Void Stalker's form began to shift, revealing something within its darkness. Something that made Maya's eyes widen in recognition and horror. It was a piece of technology, clearly artificial, but wrong somehow. It seemed to exist in too many dimensions at once, its edges refusing to stay fixed in normal spacetime. "Is that?" The answer pulsed through her mind. Yes. A piece of the enemy's technology. A fragment of the thing that hunted between galaxies. And now that Maya had seen it, she understood why the Void Stalkers had evolved as they had. Because sometimes, the only way to fight a shadow was to become one. "Bring me back in," she transmitted to the station. "And clear the main chamber. There's something the assembly needs to see." The Void Stalker's form rippled with approval as Maya turned back toward the airlock. She had done what no other species had managed, she had listened. Had understood. Now came the hard part. Convincing the galaxy to unite against a threat they couldn't see, couldn't understand, and couldn't fight. Not alone. But then, humanity had always been good at beating impossible odds. Dance with shadows. The artifact hovered in the center of the assembly chamber, defying every known law of physics. Maya stood before the gathered delegates, her neural implant pulsing with the electromagnetic translations from the Void Stalker who now had a name, Shadow Singer. "What we're looking at," Maya explained, her voice steady despite her exhaustion, "is a probe. But not one designed to explore space. It's designed to explore probability." Ambassador Vex's mandibles clicked in agitation. "Probability is not a dimension one can explore, human. It is a mathematical concept." "That's what we thought too." Maya gestured at the artifact, which seemed to fold through dimensions that shouldn't exist. "But the things hunting the Void Stalkers, the ones Shadow Singer calls the probability eaters, they don't just live in normal space. They live in all possible spaces at once." High Speaker Ixil floated closer to the artifact, their crystalline form refracting its impossible light. "And these eaters, they consume probability itself?" "They consume choice," Maya corrected, the knowledge flowing from her neural link with Shadow Singer. "Every decision creates branches in reality. The probability eaters devour those branches, leaving only one path, the path that leads to extinction." The assembly chamber erupted in murmurs and translations. Maya felt Shadow Singer's presence outside the station shift, responding to the delegates' fear with patterns of reassurance that only she could perceive. "Show them," she transmitted to her alien ally. "Show them what you showed me." The chamber's lights flickered as Shadow Singer interfaced with the station systems through their quantum link. The holographic display came alive with images that made several delegates recoil in horror. Galaxies being consumed, not by physical force, but by the collapse of probability itself. Civilizations finding themselves trapped in inevitable paths to destruction, every attempt to change course somehow leading back to the same end. "The Void Stalkers evolved to fight this," Maya continued. "They learned to exist partly outside normal spacetime, to manipulate energy and probability in ways we're only beginning to understand. But they're losing. That's why they came to us." "To us?" Dr. Crix's bioluminescent tendrils pulsed with confusion. "Why would they seek help from such a young species?" Maya smiled. "Because of what makes us human. Our greatest strength isn't our technology or our intelligence, it's our unpredictability. Our ability to make impossible choices, to defy probability itself." She touched her neural implant, and the holographic display shifted to show human history. Countless moments where humanity should have failed, should have given up, should have died, but didn't. "We're chaos engines," she said softly. "Every probability eater that's tried to calculate our extinction has failed. We don't follow the paths we're supposed to. We make new ones." The artifact in the center of the chamber pulsed, and Maya felt Shadow Singer's approval through their link. The Void Stalker had seen this in humanity from the start, a species that could help them fight beings that fed uncertainty by being fundamentally uncertain. Ambassador Vex rose from their platform. "Even if what you say is true, what would you have us do? How does one fight an enemy that exists in probability itself?" Maya's grin held a fierce edge. "The same way humanity has always fought impossible odds, we changed the rules of the game." Through their link, Shadow Singer began transmitting the plan they had developed during their hours of communication. Maya's neural implant translated it into a series of technical specifications that appeared in the holographic display. "The Void Stalkers can teach us to manipulate probability like they do," she explained. "And we can teach them how to be unpredictable like us. Together, we can create something new, a weapon that doesn't just affect matter or energy, but choice itself." The technical specifications resolved into a design that made several of the assembly's top scientists gasp in recognition. It was elegant, impossible, and absolutely insane, exactly the kind of thing humanity excelled at. "We're calling it the Choice Engine," Maya announced. "A device that doesn't just create new possibilities, it creates new types of possibility. The probability eaters won't be able to calculate outcomes because the outcomes themselves will be incalculable. High Speaker Ixel's crystalline form pulsed with a mix of fear and hope. The resource requirements for such a device would be astronomical. The technical challenges unprecedented. Good thing we have the combined knowledge of the Assembly's finest minds, Maya countered, and the quantum manipulation abilities of the Void Stalkers. She paused, letting her next words carry weight. And humanity's knack for doing the impossible. Shadow Singer's presence rippled outside the station, creating patterns of light that even the non-implanted delegates could see. It was a display of power, but also of solidarity. The galaxy's most feared predators were offering their strength, their knowledge, their very essence to this cause. We don't have much time, Maya concluded. The probability eaters are already at the edges of our galaxy. But together, humans, Void Stalkers, and the Assembly, we can fight back. We can prove that even certainty itself isn't certain. The chamber fell silent as the delegates considered her words. Maya stood tall, feeling Shadow Singer's support through their link, knowing that this moment would define not just humanity's place in the galaxy, but the very nature of possible futures. Finally, High Speaker Ixel spoke. The Assembly will need time to deliberate dash. No, Maya interrupted, her voice sharp. That's exactly what we can't do. The probability eaters feed on predictable responses, on bureaucracy and procedure. We need to act in ways they can't calculate. She stepped forward, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. I'm not asking for permission. I'm offering an invitation. To do something that's never been done. To fight an enemy that no one else can fight. To save not just our galaxy, but the very nature of choice itself. The silence that followed was broken by Ambassador Vex. Well, they clicked, mandibles curving in what might have been a smile. When you put it that way, how can we possibly predict what we'll choose? One by one, the delegates began to signal their agreement. Maya felt Shadow Singer's joy through their link, a sensation like starlight and quantum probability mixed together. The impossible alliance was forming. Humanity, with its chaos and determination. The Void Stalkers, with their mastery of probability and energy. And the Assembly, with its vast resources and diverse knowledge. Together, they would write a new future, one that even the devourers of probability couldn't foresee. The enemy within. The Choice Engine's construction facility hung in deep space, a massive structure built from the combined technologies of 3 civilizations. Maya stood at the observation deck, watching as Void Stalkers wove probability warping fields while Assembly engineers directed swarms of construction drones. The quantum core is stable, Dr. Crix reported, their bioluminescent tendrils flickering with excitement. The human chaos algorithms are integrating perfectly with the Void Stalkers' probability matrices. Maya nodded, but her attention was on something else. A pattern in the facility's power fluctuations that shouldn't be there. Shadow Singer had noticed it too, she could feel their unease through their neural link. Someone's sabotaging us, she said quietly. Dr. Crix's tendrils froze. Impossible. The security protocols are being circumvented by someone who knows them intimately. Maya turned from the window, her face grim. The probability eaters have allies within the Assembly. The revelation shouldn't have been surprising. An enemy that fed on certainty would naturally have agents working to make outcomes more predictable. But the implications were staggering. We need to flush them out, Maya continued. But we can't let them know we're onto them. Shadow Singer. The Void Stalker's response came through their link, a plan so chaotic and unpredictable it could only have come from the merger of human and Void Stalker thinking. Maya smiled. Perfect. Over the next 12 hours, they implemented what appeared to be a series of random equipment failures and personnel transfers. But each accident was precisely calculated to force their hidden enemies to either reveal themselves or abandon their positions. Power fluctuation in Section 7, announced the facility's AI. Rerouting. Maya watched as 3 technicians responded to the crisis. 2 moved exactly as their protocols dictated. The third didn't. There, she transmitted to Shadow Singer. Did you see it? The Void Stalker's confirmation came with a surge of electromagnetic data. The suspect technician's movements had been too perfect, too predictable. No actual person responded to chaos with such precision. Dr. Crix, Maya said casually, would you mind asking Administrator Pell to join us? There's something in the quantum core readings I'd like their opinion on. The Meridian scientist started to move, but Maya caught one of their tendrils. Take the long way round. Past Section 7. Understanding flickered through Dr. Crix's bioluminescence. They moved off, their path seemingly random but precisely planned. Within minutes, alarms blared through the facility. Security breach in Section 7. Unauthorized quantum transmission detected. Maya was already moving, Shadow Singer's presence flowing through the facility's outer hull like living darkness. They converged on Section 7 from opposite directions, trapping their quarry between human ingenuity in Void Stalker power. The technician, or what appeared to be one, stood before a quantum terminal, its form beginning to shift and blur. Probability proxy, Maya breathed, recognizing the technology from Shadow Singer's memories. A construct designed to make certain futures more likely by infiltrating key decision points. The proxy's form stabilized into something that hurt to look at, a being that existed in too many states at once. You cannot stop what comes, it said in a voice that seemed to speak from multiple futures simultaneously. Probability tends toward entropy. Toward end states. We are inevitable. Maya laughed. Inevitable? Have you not been paying attention to human history? We eat inevitable for breakfast. She reached out through her neural link, connecting with Shadow Singer's consciousness. Together, they began to manipulate the quantum fields around the proxy, using a combination of Void Stalker precision and human chaos theory. The proxy's form wavered. This pattern is not possible. The calculations can't predict what we'll do. Maya grinned. That's kind of the point. Security teams rushed in, led by Ambassador Vex himself. The chitinous diplomat took in the scene with compound eyes that missed nothing. A probability proxy, Vex clicked. Here, in our most secure facility. Their mandibles clacked in what might have been amusement. How predictable. The proxy's form began to collapse as the combined quantum effects of human chaos algorithms and Void Stalker probability manipulation tore apart its certainty-based structure. You are too late, it said as its form destabilized. The deep probability lines are already set. The choice engine will never dash. Its words cut off as Shadow Singer consumed its remaining quantum energy, converting the proxy's certainty-based structure into pure probability potential. In the silence that followed, Maya turned to Ambassador Vex. We need to check everyone in the facility. There will be more proxies. Vex's mandibles clicked in agreement. Already begun. But they will expect that response. What they won't expect is that we'll use their infiltration against them, Maya finished, feeling Shadow Singer's approval through their link. Every proxy we find is more probability potential we can feed into the choice engine. They're not just making our weapon possible. They're making it stronger, Dr. Crix concluded, their tendrils glowing with understanding. By trying to create certainty, they're giving us more chaos to work with. Maya nodded, watching as Shadow Singer's form rippled with patterns that translated as both amusement and anticipation. Sometimes the best way to fight an enemy is to let them think they're winning, Vex finished, their compound eyes gleaming. How delightfully unpredictable. The facility hummed around them as the choice engine continued to grow, each component a fusion of human chaos, Void Stalker probability manipulation, and assembly engineering. And now, thanks to their enemy's own actions, they had a new source of power to draw upon. Maya touched her neural implant, feeling Shadow Singer's presence merge with her consciousness. Together, they watched the quantum readings from the choice engine spike and swirl in patterns that even the probability eaters couldn't have foreseen. The real question was, what other surprises did their enemies have planned? And more importantly, how could they turn those surprises into weapons of their own? Bridges in the dark. The choice engine hung in space like a dream made real, a structure that existed in multiple probability states simultaneously. To normal eyes, it appeared as a shifting crystal formation the size of a small moon. Through Maya's neural link with Shadow Singer, she could see its true nature, a quantum bridge between all possible futures. "They're coming," Maya announced to the assembled fleet. Thousands of ships from every assembly species surrounded the choice engine, along with hundreds of void stalkers whose dark forms created patterns against the stars. The probability eaters had been detected at the edge of the system, their approach bending reality in ways that made navigation computers crash and organic minds recoil. "All ships, maintain position," High Speaker Ixel's voice carried across all frequencies. "Remember the plan. Chaos and unity, just as humanity and the Void Stalkers have taught us." Maya stood on the command deck of the flagship, her neural link humming with Shadow Singer's presence. Around her, crew members from a dozen species worked in perfect chaotic harmony, each following their own instincts while maintaining a deeper, unpredictable synchronization. The first probability eater emerged into normal space. It was beautiful and horrifying, a being made of crystallized certainty, its form representing the single, inevitable future it sought to enforce. "Choice engine at full power," Dr. Crix reported, their tendrils pulsing with nervous energy. "Quantum matrices stable. Chaos algorithms running at peak efficiency." Maya nodded, feeling Shadow Singer's anticipation through their link. "Remember everyone, don't try to predict what's about to happen. That's what they want. Instead, embrace the chaos. Make choices that even you don't see coming." The probability eater's voice filled all frequencies, all quantum states, all possible futures. "Your resistance is an aberration. All paths lead to entropy. To certainty. To US." Maya smiled. "Want to bet?" She gave the signal. Across the fleet, crews began taking actions based not on tactical analysis or strategic planning, but on pure human instinct. Ships moved in patterns that defied conventional logic. Void stalkers wove probability fields that shouldn't have been possible. And at the heart of it all, the choice engine began to sing. It was a song of pure possibility, every note representing a future that refused to be devoured. Maya felt it through her neural link, a symphony of chaos and choice that made her heart soar. The probability eater recoiled. More of its kind emerged from probability space, their crystalline forms distorting as they encountered something they couldn't calculate, true, unlimited choice. "Now!" Maya commanded. The fleet moved as one, yet each ship followed its own path. Void stalkers dove through probability fields, their natural abilities amplified by the choice engine's power. Assembly vessels fired weapons that hit their targets in one reality and missed in another, creating quantum uncertainty that the probability eaters couldn't consume. And through it all, human chaos theory guided their movements, making each action not just unpredictable, but impossible to predict. The probability eaters' crystalline forms began to crack. This is not possible. The calculations. The certainty. That's humanity's gift to the galaxy, Maya transmitted on all frequencies. The certainty that nothing is certain. The possibility of impossible possibilities. Shadow Singer's presence merged more deeply with her consciousness, their combined understanding of probability and chaos reaching new levels. Through their link, Maya could see what was happening on a quantum level. The choice engine wasn't just creating new futures, it was creating new types of futures. Possibilities that existed outside the probability eater's ability to consume or calculate. The quantum core is reaching critical expansion. Dr. Crix announced. Reality matrix extending beyond predicted parameters. Maya gripped her console as reality itself seemed to flex around them. Hold on to your certainties, everyone. We're about to make them uncertain. The choice engine's song reached a crescendo. In that moment, Maya felt Shadow Singer's joy merge with her own, the joy of creating something truly new. Not just new futures, but new ways for futures to exist. The probability eater's crystalline form shattered, not into pieces, but into possibilities. Each fragment became a new choice, a new future that couldn't be predicted or consumed. Quantum reading stabilizing, Dr. Crix reported, their tendrils glowing with amazement. The probability eaters, they're not destroyed. They're transformed, Maya finished. We didn't just defeat them. We gave them what they never knew they wanted, the beauty of uncertainty. Through the viewport, the transformed probability eaters drifted like quantum snowflakes, each one representing a future where certainty and chaos danced in perfect balance. High Speaker Ixel's voice carried notes of wonder. The assembly has existed for 10,000 years, yet never have we seen anything like this. Humanity and the Void Stalkers, you've changed everything. That's what we do best, Maya said, feeling Shadow Singer's amused agreement through their link. We change things. We make the impossible possible. And now. She looked out at the transformed probability eaters, at the fleet of ships crewed by beings who had learned to embrace chaos, at the choice engine still singing its song of infinite possibility. Now we've given the galaxy something better than certainty, she continued. We've given it choice. Real, unlimited, beautiful choice. Shadow Singer's presence rippled with patterns that translated as both completion and beginning. The threat was over, but something new was starting, an age where probability and chaos, certainty and choice, would dance together in ways no one could predict. And that, Maya thought as she felt the neural link pulse with shared joy, was exactly how it should be. After all, the best futures were the ones you couldn't see coming.